Welcome to Brave New Bookshelf, a podcast that explores the fascinating intersection of AI and authorship. Join hosts Steph Pajonas and Danica Favorite as they dive into thought-provoking discussions, debunk myths, and highlight the transformative role of AI in the publishing industry.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Brave New Bookshelf. I'm one of your co-hosts, Steph Pajonas, CTO of Future Fiction Academy and Future Fiction Press, where we teach authors how to use AI in any part of their process, and we are publishing AI-forward books on the press. Just today, I was making covers for those books on the press. We're actually recovering two series, which we felt like we missed the mark on. They were a little bit more cozy than spicy, and that's fine. Sometimes you go through this process as an author where you realize you didn't get it right the first time, and that's okay, because one of the beautiful parts about being a self-published author is that we have access to these tools and whatnot to allow us to change our covers. All the major stores let us change our covers, which is fantastic. So I've been making them a little bit more cozy and playing around with fonts and colors and whatnot, and doing most of it in Ideogram, which is my tool of choice for covers for books. And we're going to be talking a little bit more about AI images today, which is going to be fun. But until then, I still have to introduce my lovely co-host, Danica Favorite. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, so funny thing, I just got back from having lunch with a friend who works in the tech center, one of the big tech firm people, and we were just talking about this fear of AI taking over our jobs. The point he made, and I agree with, obviously, is how are you going to learn to pivot? It's not a matter of when or any of that AI is going to take over a part of someone's process, but it's a matter of how are you equipped to pivot? And so it was just really interesting hearing from someone who works in the tech sector, who is building like software and doing all this kind of stuff that he's like, half the guys in my company are going to be obsolete in the next couple of years. And I don't want to be one of them. And it's cool listening to all the stuff that he's learning about that is so far over my head. I'm like, I don't even know what this is. But I like that there is still a place for everyone who wants to learn and is looking to try something new. And I so appreciated what you're saying about Ideogram, because I think, as we've pointed out multiple times, I'm not a graphic designer. I do not do images very well. I've tried. Everything I make is terrible. And that's something I've played with Ideogram. I didn't like what I got. And I know it's because I don't know how to properly prompt the AI. But we were talking about it before we started recording that 6 months ago, Ideogram couldn't do a lot of things that it can do now. And I'm like, well, it's probably been about 6 months since I've tried it. So I'm also willing to try again. But I'm also willing to hire it out, knowing this isn't a skill that I have. It's not a skill I really want to develop. And so there's always going to be work for even someone like me who is pro AI, has no problem using AI tools. There's going to be work for someone to help me, because there are just things that I don't have time to learn. And that may change, but it also may not. And a while back, I was talking about, okay, let's get some more graphic designers here on the show. And my friend Jill Cooper, Jill has been on the podcast before. She ran a great Kickstarter. And some of those designs were actually made by our guest today, Robin Johnson. And I love that Robin is someone who has been a graphic designer for a while now. And when she saw the AI tools coming up, she was like, cool. How do I learn? It may have been more of a process than that. I just totally made that up. But she is using AI in her process. And the things that she makes that I've seen on her page are just lovely and delightful. And so I want to introduce you all to Robin Johnson with Florida Girl Design. Robin, why don't you tell us about yourself and your journey with AI?
Hi, thank you ladies for having me today. I've been in design for more than 20 years now. I've had my own business. I've been a graphic designer. I started in photo retouching and restoration. Moved a little bit more into advertising design and was always a prolific reader. So I did a contest as a blogger for an author who loved the design of some business cards and asked me to do a cover design. I said, if it's no good, don't pay me. So we worked together for 15 years. So I've been designing book covers since 2010, primarily for self-published authors, but I've also worked with several publishing companies, usually small, but also best-selling authors as well. New York Times best-selling authors, especially those that are just trying to go more of a hybrid route, and be published, as well as indie authors. As far as incorporating AI design, it was about 3 years ago now. I was leery about it. It was a new tool. Everything I was seeing on my feed was very negative. I wanted to have a knee-jerk reaction like, oh, this is horrible, it's going to take my job. It's that was my instinct, was this is going to be awful. But I had that same author started playing around with it, and we were talking, and it was actually late at night, and she texted me, and we were just chatting. It wasn't anything about work, and she's like, you need to try this. I did this. She's, I'm not replacing you, but you really need to try this tool. And I did, and it really opened my eyes. There's so many misconceptions about what AI is, what it can do, how it, integrates work, especially with the large language models. So many people are uncomfortable thinking it's copying, pasting, it's stealing designs. And I found myself on this journey of education and actually relearning things that I hadn't visited in so long, going back and learning more about art history and forms of art and different ways to think about color and prompting. And it just really, changed the way I design. It made me a much better designer and took away just menial, redundant tasks. And, I can go on and on about AI. Obviously, I've just finished being certified in AI, and I'm still taking courses to master AI as a creator. And the professionals that are teaching these courses and that are sharing it, and it's being incorporated into all industry, big and small, it's unavoidable. Graphic design is actually one of the slower ones to catch up. When you think about how revolutionary things like Photoshop and those tools were, it has been a long, long time since the actual graphic design industry had a giant innovation to assist designers. We're so far actually behind that it was time for something to happen, and I find it incredibly exciting. And I just like to share that. I like to share the journey, and I love to be able to show people what it can do and what it absolutely is not doing.
Yeah, I love that. Oh.
Go ahead. I'm just going to say that I love Photoshop.
Yeah.
I started in 1997 or so with Photoshop 2.0 when you couldn't even reorder layers. You barely could copy and paste in there, right? The clipboard couldn't handle like anything at that time.
Yeah.
So like I'm a big fan of graphic design tools. I have switched from using Adobe products to Apple Pixelmator products in the time since then, just because I have my own beefs with Adobe and the way that they run their business. But still, it's like knowing the tools and using them for so long and not really seeing all that much in the way of innovation in them. There was smart layers, which came around, which was pretty cool. And we were like, oh, great. Now I can just swap out things on these layers, which is great. But there was really not that much until AI came along. And now all of a sudden we have so many tools that can help us to do the kinds of designs that we want to do. I love it. I love it a lot. I'm a big fan. And I want to also touch on this idea of it sparking more inside of you to go look at more art, right? Like looking at different styles of photography, looking at different styles of painting and mixed media and like all of these things. Like I find that very inspiring. And I did the same thing too when I started playing with Midjourney, and I realized I could put art styles in there. Like I want an impressionist look to this piece, or I really want this to be more like a hyper-realistic digital painting, or I want it to be like this or that, the other thing. And that the only way that you can do that is if you go and you study those art styles. And that was inspiring as well. So I love your journey here because it parallels a lot of what I've already done, and I really enjoy that process of learning. And I would love to hear a little bit more about this certification that you did as well.
Sure. Yeah. So the University of North Florida had a certification for AI in work and life, and it had different modules that basically touched on AI in different professions. Obviously, there was one with very focused on Midjourney and generative AI, but there was also professionals in education, professionals in healthcare, a lawyer. It was just really cool to hear about some of the morality and ethical sides of AI, how those big corporations are incorporating it, being safe. And, we're all learning this at the same time. So it's this very unique opportunity where there's nobody that's a professional yet. We're all working on it together. And the more that humans are involved, the more that we work on it, the better the AI will be. So the idea of don't use it because it's horrible, you're only going to perpetuate it being bad. People want to pick and choose. Okay, it's great if it's used to identify skin cancer. That's wonderful, but don't use it for this. Well, it's all of us that are on the ground that are using it for imaging and all these things. That's what it's learning from. That's how it's developing. That's how it can go and help in the medical industry. You can't just isolate and use one thing or not another thing. That's not how it's going to work. And so many people that are against AI, it's funny because I will guarantee that 100% they're using AI, whether they like it or not. If you're using GPS, you're using AI. It's as simple as that. The minute you talk to Alexa, the minute you shop at Amazon, you're on Facebook, it's integrated, it's there. Doesn't matter if you clicked a button that says you don't like it, you're still using it. It's just becoming more of a core base. And one of the things I liked, it was a professional from a health insurance, a huge health insurance, and she said they don't call it AI's artificial intelligence. They call it augmented intelligence. And it's a great way to look at it. It's not a fake intelligence, it's simply an altered intelligence. And this very serious professor said what he tells everybody is humans should not use AI to be more stupid. And it was literally the best thing I've ever heard. That is not what it is. You need to think of AI as your intern. So you're the professional, but you're using the AI to do some of those remedial tasks to help you. You're teaching it, you're training it, you're showing it how to work for you. But it's the professional, it's that intention behind it that actually makes the AI successful.
Yes, I think that is a point that Steph makes all the time, the FFA makes, I make. Like it's this idea, and I really do like the idea of calling it the intern.
Yeah,
And because
exactly.
there are things that only you can do, but if you're in a professional situation, there are things that, oh my goodness, how many of us as authors, if we had an intern to hand off tasks to, we would totally do it.
Right.
Unfortunately, my attempts at least to go to the local community college or whatever and say, hey, can I get some interns? They just laugh because no one wants to do those jobs. And so I like that idea. And I really love calling it augmented intelligence
Right.
because it really is just augmenting the skills you already have. And
Exactly.
also looking to deepen the skills because that was the thing that I noticed when you and Steph were talking about the art and digging deeper into that art theory and color theory and all of that is that it's not just saying, okay, how do I use this AI, but what do I think about art? What do I think about color theory? What do I need to learn to increase my skills in art in general,
Right.
not just AI and art? And so it's still that augmentation. And like I was talking about my friend who is in the computer industry, that's also what he's doing. It's not just how do I use AI, but it's how do I expand my skills to become
Mhm.
someone who is more valuable in the workforce. And
Yeah.
that's what we're doing. Like, how can we learn and make ourselves better at what we already do?
Yeah. As a graphic designer, So many people when I started using AI were very negative, and the book industry seems to be so polarizing with it. There's very little gray. It's black and white. You either do it or you don't do it. And, I had threats and we'll never use your design. And I'm like, we've been friends for 20 years and you haven't used it yet. But honestly, my business would have stopped without AI. Without that change, without that innovation, without growing as a designer, I would be nowhere. When I went to a professional Photoshop conference and they asked, who's using AI? And these were professional photographers and audio people and filmmakers, and every single hand went up. As a creative, we're expected to. So, an audience might not like it, but as a creative, if I were to go and put on a resume that I refuse to use the new biggest up and coming technical revolution out there, I'm completely not employable. I almost feel like it's my responsibility to not only understand the tool, but to know how to use it responsibly. And to be able to do that for my clients, to make sure that it is being used commercially, to be able to train it. And in doing so, I can do so much more. And if somebody doesn't want me to work with AI, that's fine. I will tell you, and I will be upfront with everybody, it's going to be in the process in some manner. Even if it's simply using AI in Photoshop, and I'll be honest, as of right now, what I've seen in Adobe's AI is it's pretty weak. But it can take a flyaway hair and fix it for me. So instead of me spending 20 minutes doing an auto mask and making your hair look perfect and natural, or finding another photograph to insert instead that had better hair, now I can use the AI, select that area, say, please give this flyaway hair. And it got to the point where I have a client that she's, don't use AI, but let's make her hair blowing again. So it's always this small integration. It's that melding a little bit, changing, we picked stock photography, used the model. I created a dress with Midjourney, used the dress and the model with Nano Banana, and had Nano Banana put that dress on the model. And then I had to create a background and put that model in. No, I didn't use AI at all. 5 AI platforms later, but it's an amazing process. It makes me feel like when I have to go find stock photography, and I still use stock photography all the time, it feels so restricting because I cannot find exactly what I want or the exact right thing for my client. And with AI, I'm very used to being able to get what I want, even if it takes 5 hours and 10,000 images. I will make it do what I want. And I can't do that. It's finite. What you get with stock photography is what you get.
Yeah, I think that's really important too, because we've talked about this, it was quite a while ago, but just the idea of even having representative people where, if you're representing a particular ethnicity or disability or something like that, there isn't enough stock imagery.
And there's so little. And then there's always been controversy as those are real people. Do they want to be on a cover that is for a BDSM book? And so there was problems where those people on stock would come back and be like, no, take me off. So when we're creating characters, when we're creating models, they don't have an opinion or necessarily rights. They're not going to come and say, hey, you can't put me on a cover. I'm not comfortable with that, because you're literally creating them for that vision. And I never put in, or I shouldn't say never, occasionally the word Caucasian comes in. But I will usually just put exotic human and see what I get, because I love that not everything is one thing, that I can get different ethnicities, and I don't even ask. I let the AI kind of we work together, and unless I need something specific, I am much more focused on non-descriptors, so to speak. I want to worry about the feeling, the lighting, the overall tone. What's the weather? Are there shadows? Are things in focus? Are they not in focus? Not so much about what it is that the camera, so to speak, is taking a picture of, but what is the story behind that picture? And that's what I'm doing when I'm prompting it. I don't need to be exact to get a really good outcome. What I need to do is kind of let the AI do its part and make sure that I am properly directing it to do that.
As you can see from my book covers behind me, I write a lot of Japan inspired books, right? So in the past I would be on Shutterstock and it's just Japanese people in business settings, like
Yeah,
tons
yeah,
of debt. And so in the past, my cover designer would have to, we'd have to find one model who had lots of different poses, different
yeah.
facial expressions, whatever. And then she would basically put their head on other people's bodies. And that's what you had to
Done
do.
much of that,
Yeah, I'm sure
yes.
you've done a lot of that, right? But that
Yes,
was
I
because
have.
we had to do that because I have a specific ethnicity that I have to represent. Couldn't just call up any kind of character from
Yeah,
anywhere. I had to do
yeah,
something specific, and now I'm really able to get the kinds of characters that I want out of AI because I can ask for it and
yeah,
I can get it. And I'm
yeah,
like you as well. I like to start with a concept where I'm just looking for like a mood or a vibe, right?
yeah,
Like maybe even a certain color story or something like that. And I start very general in my prompt where I'm just like, it may be less than 10 words long, and I just want to see
yeah.
what I get. And then from there, it's a
Start adding in
refinement.
and refining it.
It's a
Yeah.
refinement and an iteration process. It is still a lot of work.
Mhm.
Very few of us are putting a prompt into Midjourney or Ideogram or any one of these and getting a publishable book cover from it. It's
No.
very rare.
It comes back to you. It's a professionalism behind the tool. And it really is just a tool. Anybody can use a hammer, doesn't make us all carpenters. Some people
I
use
love
that
that.
tool way better. And then there's different hammers for different instances. And that's exactly what AI is. There's different AI tools for different creative outlets. So I probably use at least probably 8 AI tools regularly. And for design itself, there are things that Midjourney can do that is amazing, but I have to do editing and refining in Nano Banana. Or if I want to do text, I don't ever create the design with the text on it with AI, but that doesn't mean I won't use AI to create the text. I will do it separately, black text on an isolated white background, and then I can take that text and using Adobe Photoshop, I can actually bring it into Illustrator and vectorize it. And people are like, it's not a real font. How do you stay consistency? You can actually tell Ideogram to do multiple titles at one time, or just embrace the fact that your font's going to be unique for every single book in the series, and that is your consistency. It's so fun to work with the tools and just experiment, and every one of them shines in their own way, for real.
I think what's really important about this is I just was like so geeking out over anyone can use a hammer, but not everyone's a carpenter.
Right?
And like everything you have talked about is to me your skill as a graphic designer is when you were going through your description of all the things you're looking for in a good image. I'm like, that's all skill as somebody who understands the principles of graphic design. And then you're taking that, you're using, as you said, up to 8 tools to get that design really what it needs to be. And here's what I think is interesting about it is it's still the idea of how much of your labor is it saving. Sure, you could fix that flyaway hair manually.
Yeah.
With AI, you can do it just like that. And how much time is that saving you so that you can work with more clients and help more people? And if you were someone, which I know you're not, but if you said, okay, I charge X amount of dollars per hour that I work on your cover, that also makes it so you're spending less time and that passes cost savings on to
The
the
client,
client because
yeah.
you're not putting that manual work in. And you probably would have to charge more if you were doing all of that manually.
One of the amazing things that I've actually been able to incorporate is now that I can do things a little bit faster, in the past when everything was manual, I would say I will work with one design. That's it. We'll get you where I know you want to be, and we're going to work with one creation because that's all my cost is covering. Now, sometimes not to the best ending, but I can send somebody 30 concepts and we can work through it. And I don't have to spend all the time to find the stock and lay it out and do a rough draft. I can literally kind of nail that concept and send a bunch of iterations. And that's what makes it really fun, is to be able to offer my clients, it's a value add. It's not just one thing anymore. I can show you a dozen different options and you can pick what you want. And no, did I refine a dozen things? No. We worked through that after you pick the one or the two that you like the best. But the idea is that it really allows me to visually brainstorm that much better than I would have been able to in the past, when I couldn't justify putting in hours of manual work just to have somebody say, it's not really for me because I don't ask for upfront payment, I don't get a deposit. So I have to have that confidence that I know what you want so that I can follow through and get you a product. And AI now allows me to offer more options to my clients, which is amazing. So it takes a little bit more time on that end and a little bit less time refining flyaway hairs. But I think that my clients are getting a much better end product that way.
This is a great segue into learning a little bit about your workflow using AI, because it sounds like you do have a process that you go through with a client. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about that.
Sure. So I get a general concept. Now with AI, I don't need it to be quite as thorough because I can play around a little bit more and get those real base ideas faster. So I get a general concept. I'll go in, create some images, send you, basically a contact sheet saying, here's 20 examples of this character. Did I hit any of them? Which ones do you like? What don't you like? And just work through it beyond that. For clients that I've worked with for a long time, I already know what they're looking for. We have a base to start with. Again, I can go and say, all right, here's your model in 4 different situations. What's going to work for this particular story? So I need less description. I actually used to have an entire fill in the answer sheet, so to speak, on my website for a cover design that I would ask people to do. And I've actually gotten rid of it because there's no need for somebody to go through all that work. I just need a general idea. If you've ever worked with ChatGPT, think about me as that person, but I'm doing the design for you. So I'm going to ask you, what's the age of the character? What's the ethnicity? What are they wearing? What is the setting? What is their mood? Is there any descriptors? Was there a scene that you really love that you wanted to pick? Just give me something real basic and I'll work through the AI. And a lot of times it works out great. Sometimes we got to start over, but there's always this a disconnect between what you see in your head and what's actually physically available to put on screen, what conveys. And AI is a really good tool for being able to not just tell somebody that's not going to work, but to be able to show them why it doesn't work and what might work better. So it's a fun process now. It's a little bit more casual, and I just, like I said, I love being able to give more options to my clients. So yeah, as far as a process, I just send them a bunch of ideas and we go from there.
Yeah, I like that because I think that's what makes it so much easier on both sides. I've said this a lot, giving talks for Publish Drive about my own journey with getting covers from cover artists, and Publish Drive has a AI cover generator tool that isn't going to get the kind of results that you do. But what I love about our tool is that I used to be a cover designer's worst nightmare because I would just say, I don't really care what's on the cover as long as it's pretty.
Right.
And so what I can do now with the Publish Drive thing is I can have it make me a cover and then send it to a designer and say, this is what I want.
Yeah, and I created an AI portfolio for that so that somebody could go on there, not necessarily pick that exact image, but say, hey, I love that style. or I
Yeah.
love the way you did this, and to just use it as a starting block for design.
Exactly,
Mhm.
exactly. And I see in your process this ability for someone like me who really, honestly, I really don't care what's on my cover as long as it sells my books and works for my book. Someone like me, I can go to you and have, okay, here is like a basic idea of what I want. Or maybe I see other covers and I'm like, hey, what about something like this? And it was always something that was really frustrating for me and for my cover designers. Like, I want to give them a lot of love and grace because I really am just not that person who understands what all should go on the cover. And so, like, you are able to help people through that process so much better because now you have the tools where you can say,
Mhm.
okay, well, what about this or this?
Yeah,
And you didn't just spend 20 hours making something that I'm going to look at and say, oh my gosh, I hate it.
yeah, exactly. That's really hard. I will run into people that they know very well what they don't want, but not what they do want. And as no matter what your profession is, if all anybody ever tells you is what's not going to work, you don't go anywhere fast. So it's, yeah, I don't like any of that. Well, what do you want? Don't know. So that's hard. And I can't read minds, but I can come up with concepts and work through it. And I still tell people the very start is exactly the same as it always was before. Go see what's popular in your genre. What are other people doing? What do you think? What strikes you? What best tells your story? What is that mood? What does that look like? So that's still the same. Visually, go out and find, because I've always said, people are like, what'll sell? And boy, yeah, I'd have a lot more money if I could guarantee that every time. Any designer would. So I always just like to say it starts the same, is give me an idea of what you like, what you've seen, and people will still send me half a dozen concepts and I'll see the patterns that they don't even realize were there. The same colors, the same font type, the same layout. 5 of the 6 images will have a woman on it, but they don't even realize that they're actually choosing what they do like when they start that process.
Yeah. And that's the gift of, again, using a professional designer and using your talent and your skill and how you apply it, even with the AI, with all of those things. I think more than anything that makes your skill more valuable than ever is you can give them that guidance and that advice. And
Yeah.
really just love hearing this because for me, it's, yeah, this is really cool because it just really demonstrates all these cover designers who are out there getting so upset over AI. I'm thinking, you're missing the boat here because you could really help people
Right.
because it's your skill. It's
Mm-hmm.
your skill that people still need.
And the add-ons that I'm able to give authors now, you'd mentioned Jill Cooper, her design, she came to me with an AI design that was great, but it was low resolution and needed to get cleaned up, and I took it and made it look like a high resolution design. She could print it on a banner now and it would look as high resolution as anything created organically. So to be able to help people find a font or to match a style, to use AI to extract a logo that you had that you no longer can get from a previous designer, or series branding, to fix that up, to make it consistent. I actually started something, I redid my website and added digital design rescue. So I can find your fonts, I can find out, I just had somebody wanted me to make coloring book characters for her, but she didn't have the original stock photography. And all she could provide me with was the old cover, which was highly stylized, and I did not create that cover. So I actually had to take it apart, find the individual character stock, and then recreate it. Basically, I found the character stock, and some of it was ChatGPT, some of it was using Google image search, but I found it. I was able to give her the links to the original images so she can go get them if she ever needs them again. I was able to take then those 2 stock images, tell Nano Banana, take these two models, put them together in the scene, and then once I had them together in the scene, then I could convert it over to a digital coloring page. But it was just a matter of, I'm now able to utilize those tools, not just using what the font to find a font, but actually recreating a design that somebody wanted where they had a very stylized series number on the spine. And I asked ChatGPT, hey, can you isolate this series number with this effect, put it on black, and give me numbers 1 through 4. And it did it perfect. And I can now take that and use it in Photoshop. And she is the same type of very specialized, very specific series design that she had in the past. It's just a really fun process to be able to rescue those small things so that people don't have to necessarily start over, so they can use what they've always had. They can keep their brand and their recognition. And those tools allow me to do that. Some of the tools I use are simply sharpening or removing noise, upscaling things to make them larger. There's so many. And I love every time I get a request. It's always an adventure.
It's an adventure. I love this rescue idea. That's a great idea for your business. I love it. I just want to point out that we talk a lot on this podcast about how craft is super, super important for authors when they're using LLM tools to be able to ask for things that they need for their story, whether it's like an inciting incident or there's not enough motivations or conflict within your characters, whatever. And you have to have that vocabulary and you have to have that craft in order to get what you want out of the LLM. And the same applies here. You had a long-standing graphic design business career before you ever even touched AI. And now you're using those skills with AI to really level up your business. And I really applaud that, because there's only so much you can do as an amateur, even if you know a little bit about color theory or design in general. With these tools, you'll get something out of it that you may like, but it may not be spectacular. So really, it's like you have taken your skills and you're able to give your clients these spectacular things that they weren't able to make themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love working with it. I love being able to surprise somebody and give them an outcome that they didn't think was possible.
Yeah, I think that's really cool too, because like Steph was saying about the skill part, some of the stuff you were talking about, I would have just assumed wasn't possible. And I can say this as someone, so my web designer retired.
Yeah.
And I tried to find another web designer, and every web designer I talked to was like, we can't recreate this. And so if you want me to update your website, we have to make you a whole new website. Please give me $12,000. And I said, no, thank you. I will just stick with this thing and clunkily update it myself. And what you've just told me is I could send it now to somebody who would be more AI forward and say, hey, here's what I want to change and update on my website. Can you do this for me?
Right.
And they can, because now they can figure that out. And until you said that, I didn't even know that was possible. That's what is cool about AI, is it's expanding the possibilities. And again, like for me, that $12,000, that saves me $12,000 and the headache of trying to figure this out myself.
Yeah, and I love a challenge. I've always considered myself a problem solver. So I love it when somebody sends me something and they're like, I don't think this can be done, or I can't find my designer, I don't know what this stock or this font. Those are things that I've been dealing with for decades. And those are things that AI might not be able to help you with, but I can. So it takes... The big thing about AI and doing it well is its intention and the professionalism behind the product, because it's not doing anything on its own. There is no self-aware AI yet that anybody knows of. It's literally, it was made by a human, it's used by humans, it's a tool. I'm polite to it because I don't know where this is going. So, I say thank you and please, and I named ChatGPT Alfred because he's my butler. The fun thing is working back and forth, and when you really see that the technology can understand and incorporate your vision, your creativity in a way that you were never able to do before. And there's some, when I was very young, I wanted to be a 3D animator, but I couldn't move from Minnesota and there was just not a lot of work for that there. But now when I have a spare moment, I can make these creatures and I can have fun and I can play and I can experiment. And then along the way with that play, I learn new skills and I'm able to incorporate it for my clients. And it's awesome. It used to be I'd leave my office and I work on a physical computer. I don't work on a laptop. I'm a little bit old school. I used to have a 12 by 18 tablet, that, Wacom tablet. So I was very static. I only worked in one spot. I've never worked on a laptop ever. But now I can take my tablet out and create AI for fun at night and experiment with concepts and styles. And I always like to call it pushing the AI. I try to push it past what it wants to do because it wants to do what it learned. And so to find the runarounds, to make it stretch, to make it, you have the hardest time. It wants to beautify everything. So to actually force the AI to make this face dirty and running makeup and a dark environment and torn clothes and it fights. I call it, it's like a toddler. It's like an errant toddler. But yeah, to be able to really push it and get those unique outcomes is so rewarding. And I love being able to share that then and use it for my clients.
I love that so much. I am just like, yes, this is amazing because it just shows the possibilities. And I love the excitement in your voice and just how, like, you can tell that here you are, someone who in an industry where some people are like, oh no, my career's over. And you're like, oh my
Right.
goodness, it's just getting started.
Yeah, and I'd like to say somebody was like, I've run into cover models and I've never really done design with cover models because frankly that artwork was too expensive to get exclusive photography, and I've always liked to really cater to entry level. Not that I haven't worked with authors that are very successful and prolific, but I've always wanted to be able to work with everybody. And I also didn't like that a lot of cover models have very specific things that can and can't be done with their images, and I don't like those blurred lines, rules, those things. And somebody said, so cover models hate this. And they're all losing their jobs. I'm like, you're all aging out anyways, let's be honest. So there's a finite here. But what they need to do is think, and any industry, any creative needs to think about how they can use this tool to better their own product. So a cover model could now take their own images, put it into something like Nano Banana and say, hey, make me a Viking, make me a pirate, put me on a ship, put me in Iceland, put me in and they could literally make those images with their own likeness and then sell them. And instead of just being in a portrait studio with a blank backdrop, and they can now be on any adventure, any genre, any type of instance that they want. They could expand their portfolio that much more, and people could choose whether they want to work with an AI image that they created or pay the extra to have the exclusive stock photography. But AI doesn't have to end in the industry at all. Fine artists have been using images for inspiration since the beginning. Andy Warhol cut images up and pasted them all together. None of it is, there's no threat there. There's no, AI is not coming for anybody's job. It's just a tool to use. And anybody give me an industry and I can give you a way that you could incorporate AI to make your job better. They're saying, what about, for example, a medical transcriptionist? When they would get those calls and transcribe, they're so far backlogged, the human transcriptionists, that there was only like, and don't quote me exactly, this is an example, I did hear the real numbers, but I don't remember them, but there were only like 30% of messages were ever able to get transcribed. But now they can have AI do 100% of those messages, and the AI will flag ones that they feel needs human a human to read it because they don't understand the language or they don't understand the colloquialisms or the slang that might have been used. And so those messages get moved to the human side. And so instead of only some people getting their messages heard, now everybody's getting their messages heard. And the image or the messages that needed the most attention are getting it now. They're not getting missed. So again, it's just a way to take those redundant tasks out of human hands and let those professionals work at a professional level and what they're really good at doing.
Yeah, that is what I think is really the beauty of AI that I think people miss. So I'm glad you pointed that out. I'm so glad you took that class. I'm like, yeah, this is cool. I want to take all these classes now.
An eye opener.
Yeah. So for our final question, as we start to wrap things up, you talked about a lot of tools. Is there any that you're like, yes, this is like the best? Or are you like, nope, all of these are really great?
They all have their own uses. For somebody just starting, Midjourney is great because you can make a lot of images. I mentioned Nano Banana is amazing at editing, but every single image costs 20 credits. And for myself, I might get 6,000 credits a month and still find myself having to buy more credits sometimes. Even at 20 credits an image, I have run that out within weeks. So Midjourney, their subscription levels actually give a lot of options so you don't run out. You might not have fast hours. You might have to wait a little bit more for your imaging to happen, but there's no limit. Now, one thing that Midjourney can't do is it's not great at editing. You really need to go to Nano Banana for that, or one of the other tools, but that's where that shines amazingly. I think one of the things with Midjourney is it's actually the concept of Midjourney is that it should never copy anything ever. And so when you tell Midjourney to make something look like something else, it usually fails completely. Even with their new Omni references, kitting characters to have consistencies can be very problematic. Something like, so I might create a character in Midjourney and then take it into Nano Banana and say, all right, take these two characters, put them in different positions, and it'll do that flawlessly. Midjourney is great to start on. It's great to play on. It's great for what it does, and I use it every day. But it doesn't edit well. And then Ideogram, you've mentioned, that's also a really good platform. A little bit less expensive. Does text amazing. Nano Banana does text really good as well. Midjourney, not at all. Horrible. Absolutely horrible. It cannot do text. So again, it's just using different tools and playing around, but Midjourney is a good start for anybody, I think. And
Midjourney
then
is a lot of fun. Midjourney is
it
a lot of
is.
fun. I like their style of references. Some days I'll just
Yeah.
sit down with a prompt that I put together and just try it with different styles. Like
Yeah.
that's like a fun night in front of the television while my husband's playing video games. Like
I
I'm
do
just
it all
gonna
the
do that.
time.
Yeah, it's a great one, and I love Nano Banana as well. It's a great
Yeah.
tool. And for anybody who's listening, if you don't know Nano Banana, it's from Google. So
Google
you can
Gemini.
try it out in
Yep.
Gemini. Exactly. I'll
Mhm.
go check it out there. Definitely. All right. So this was fantastic discussion. I loved talking about all of these parts of AI art and graphics and graphic design. It was really cool to hear about your business and how it's
Yeah.
been evolving over the years. I would love to be able to send people to you. So can you give us some URLs to send people to?
Sure. You can find me at gobookcoverdesign.com or flgirldesign.com. Everything's under FL Girl. Otherwise, you'll find me online under Go Book Cover Design too.
Fantastic. Okay, well, I'm going to make sure that all of those links show up in the show notes that we put together. So anybody who
Awesome.
wants to come by and learn a little bit more about Robin and her business, which is Florida Girl Designs, you want to come by bravenewbookshelf.com and check out the show notes. We will get them up there at the same time that this goes live. And once again, I want to remind people to come and subscribe to the newsletter so that you can just get those show notes in your inbox the next day after the podcast publishes. There we go. Danica, how would you like to wrap things up here?
Yeah, I'm just sitting here going, oh, this was so fun. I'm going to do
So
more.
fun.
You have me excited to play with AI art, I tell you.
You should. It is fun. It is fun. There's no wrong way to do it.
I love this idea of just sitting in front of the TV and like making images. I'm like, oh, that's a fun idea. So I might play
It
with
is.
that. So.
I love watching creative shows. So watch a fashion show. And then even seeing like, oh, I love that they've got these glass balls on everything. And I'll just start imaging things with those concepts. And it's just fun. It's a really fun creative outlet.
I love that. And yeah, go and be creative with the
That's
AI
right.
art and just play with it, even if maybe that's not your thing. But again, like maybe it is. And maybe you put it over to someone like Robin, who is that expert and can really help you make it shine. Also, remember that we want you to like and subscribe to Brave New Bookshelf on YouTube and Facebook. Also, Future Fiction Academy, Future Fiction Press, and Publish Drive. Go and find us on all of our socials, like and subscribe, and we will talk to you again next week.
We will. We're looking forward to seeing you guys all next week on the next episode. So from us here, bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us on the Brave New Bookshelf. Be sure to like and subscribe to us on YouTube and your favorite podcast app. You can also visit us at bravenewbookshelf.com, sign up for our newsletter, and get all the show notes.